Here we're going to talk about factoring a quadratic with leading coefficient 1. So just meaning, since this starts with 1x squared, you won't have a number out front besides 1 in front of your first term. These are sometimes also referred to as the guess and check factoring, and I'll show you or talk about why in a second. The biggest thing to recognize on these is, since you already know how to FOIL from previous lessons, what we're trying to do is essentially unfoil things. Say, what did it look like before I did this? And so you notice when you FOIL, you have your first term, your last term, and then your middle term usually comes from a combination of your inside and outside, which one of them was 3x and the other one was 2x. So when you're looking at something you want to factor, all you're going to see is the combination of that. You already see 5. It's simplified down. But one big pattern to notice about this is when we're trying to fill in our numbers, say we didn't know what these were, 3 and 2. But we know we're looking for a number that multiplies to 6, since that comes from multiplying our two last terms. And we're also looking for two numbers that add to 5, since when we combined our 3x and 2x, like terms, we were adding them. And so if we notice this pattern that we need something that multiplies to the last number and adds to the middle number, then no matter what blanks we're trying to fill in, we should be able to solve the mystery just by kind of brainstorming. So that's why they call it guess and check. So let's try one where we don't know the answer. Y squared plus 8y plus 12. Here's why the leading coefficient being 1 makes a big difference. Because if I know I'm trying to write this down as what it looked like before it was FOILed, so I know I'm going to have parentheses, I know it's going to be 2 terms and 2 terms, right? That's when we FOIL. And so the big mystery, you don't have to solve it all, is what are our first 2 terms if our first term is y squared? Since it's just 1y squared, there's only one way you could get that using multiplication with FOIL. It means a y has to go here and a y has to go here. I know my first term is y times y, that's where I got y squared. So it gives you a big starting point. So the first thing I would do on all of these is write this down. Leave yourself some blank space. We're going to try to fill in these numbers. Realize you think you want to come up with the whole answer before you write anything, but this does help you visualize when you put them in. You're kind of checking foiling in your head as you're trying things. All right, we know we need 2 numbers that multiply to 12, and they have to add to 8. So if you think about addition, like 8 could be 8 plus 0, 7 plus 1, 6 plus 2. There's way too many combinations usually with addition, but multiplication, you only get your factors. So I usually look at this one first and say to myself, well, what multiplies to 12? And you don't have to write this. Maybe when you're new to it, it could be helpful. But you're kind of coming up with a little mental list of things that multiply to 12. So it could be 1 times 12, could be 2 times 6, could be 3 times 4, 4 times 3, so then we're repeating the same ones. So looking at these, which one of these might add to 8? Well, this adds to 13, this adds to 7. These two numbers look like they add to 8. Then also, this one's all positive, so we know we're looking for 2 positive numbers, but in a second we'll probably see an example where there's some positive, negative, and that's something to be careful about when you write down your factors also. So positive 2 and 6, I think multiplies to 12 and adds to 8. But here's the thing about guess and check. I'm guessing this is my answer, then check it. So we're going to FOIL just to make sure it works. So first term, y times y is y squared. Outside, y times 6 is 6y. Inside, 2 times y is 2y. And last, 2 times 6 is 12. And when I get these two like terms together, y squared plus 8y plus 12. So we're unfoiling things, but make sure you actually check it. Write down something you think works, and don't be afraid to write down something. If it doesn't work, you can go back and just erase the numbers. You're kind of searching, brainstorming for what might work. All right, let's try one that involves a negative. Z squared plus z minus 12. Alright, so first thing, since my leading coefficient's 1, I know before I even start that I'm going to have 2 sets of parentheses, and my first terms are z and z. That's where z times z gave me z squared. Okay, now I can look at my signs. I need something that multiplies to a negative and adds to what number is actually in front of this. There isn't one. This is 1z. So you can write the 1 if it helps you visualize that. You need something that multiplies to negative 12 but adds to 1. So let's think of things that multiply to negative 12. We could have negative 1 and 12. We could have 1 and negative 12. 3 and 4. One of them's got to be negative. We could have 6 and 2. One of them's got to be negative. Now what you might run into, in fact, let's switch this, is ones where they get close. See how this adds to negative 11? If you switch the sign, make that one plus, it still adds to positive 11. So you can get it close and the sign's wrong, you still know it's not the right one. 6 and negative 2 adds to 4. Even if I switch the signs, that's negative 4, so that's not going to work. 3 and negative 4 adds to negative 1. See how that one's close? It's the right digit, but it's not the right sign. I don't want it to add to negative 1, I need it to add to positive 1. So what if instead I try negative 3 and positive 4? Still a negative times a positive multiplies to negative 12, but now it adds to positive 1, so negative 3 and positive 4. And it doesn't matter what order I write these in, I could put plus 4 minus 3 also. So I'm guessing at this point that this is my answer. It seems to work from my brainstorming, but then let's check and make sure it actually does. So if I FOIL, z times z is z squared. My outside term is z times negative 3, so negative 3z. My inside term is 4 times z, so plus 4z. And my last term is a positive times a negative, so negative 12. And when I get these two like terms together, negative 3 plus 4 gives me positive 1. And so z squared plus 1z minus 12, that's what I was looking to factor. And so by FOILing, I checked to make sure that it is the same thing, just in factored form.